the stress from overwork. It's when you work too much and then you become burnt out. So if we don't have holidays, we get very burnt out, and it's why we need a rest. And if someone is washed out, usually this means very pale-faced, very sick, not necessarily from overwork, but maybe from not having a good diet or not having a good lifestyle, something like that. Now, if you huddle up, usually this means you keep warm by holding your knees into your chest. But you could huddle up with other people. And it's a bit like, for this reason, cuddle up to someone. We've got the up to, just like go up to, walk up to, run up to, and you can even cuddle up to someone, meaning get closer to that person, usually the person you love, but you cuddle up to them to keep warm, or maybe to, well, it could be anything, couldn't it, really? Okay, if you stretch out your arm, you reach out for something. That's what stretch out means. Stick out is not normally when you're reaching to take something. Stick out, you can stick out your head, stick your head out the window, but you can stick your arm out the window, and then you're not reaching for anything, are you? You're just sticking it out the window. You can stick your legs out the window. If you're in the car and you've got your legs, your feet hanging out of the window, then we'd say stick your legs out the window. So it's not reach, stick out. Stretch out is reach out, but stick out is just put out. Spread out, I think we usually use this for when you spread out your things on the desk, meaning spread them out in a long row, or just, you know, your books or whatever it is that you've got. But you can even spread out your arms, yeah? Spread out your arms would be like this, in order to cuddle someone, in order to embrace someone. So you can spread your arms out, certainly. You can bend over, yeah? Bend down, bend forwards, they're all the same thing. If you curl up it like a little baby curls up, or like a cat. My cat's just down there at the moment, and he's all curled up and he's sleeping on my chair because I'm not on my chair for a change, and then he likes to take it and curl up on the chair and doze off. If you screw up your face, it's usually because of disgust, but it might not be. You might be screwing up your face in order to squint or make out a sign that's in the distance or something like that. But screw up your face, you can see all the wrinkles around the face when somebody screws up their face. There's lots of lines. So it can also mean to mess something up, to screw something up, especially in American slang. So be careful with that one. It can mean to make a mistake, to screw something up. If you warm up or loosen up before a football match, that means you're doing all of this, yeah, you're kind of doing that, maybe you're doing that to warm up your neck muscles, yeah. It basically means just loosen all the muscles ready for the game. If you've got turkey in the freezer, or chicken, or burgers, or sausages, you might need to thaw them out. You will need to thaw them out before you eat them. And this just means become not frozen anymore. When something is frozen and it thaws out, it becomes, well, it gets warmer and becomes normal room temperature. But you can also use it meaning to warm up. So you might say, my wife and I were very cold on the journey, and so we decided to go into a restaurant to thaw out. Yeah, to go into a cafe, have a coffee and thaw out. And then it would mean to warm up. So it can be used metaphorically as well as in the kitchen. If you tense up, your muscles tense up like that. Your muscles suddenly get all tense. So you tense up when you're nervous, usually. It's the opposite, a loosen up, really, isn't it? Loosen up, your muscles are all loose, but tense up and you're all uptight, you're all stressed, you're all tense. If you double up or keel over, now these are interesting, these ones. You can double up with laughter, but you can very often you double up because of pain, and keel over is definitely because of pain. And when you double up, you do this, you bend over when you double up, usually because something's in your stomach. So if you double up with laughter, you're doubling up, you're bending over because you're laughing so hard. But if you double up from pain, maybe from a pain in the heart, you can also say he keeled over, and that usually means he's clutching his heart and bending over at the same time. So both of these mean to bend over, very often because of pain, but they could be because of laughter as well. I think we can even say keeled over due to laughter, but both of them are very often used for pain, and that's why it's in this chapter. No, this one was health, but there we go. It's about pain. Take my word for it. Very often. Now, if something is wasting away, then they're getting thinner and thinner and thinner until they disappear. So, I mean, a person who's not eating properly wastes away. Their limbs get thinner and thinner, and they get thinner and thinner and thinner, and it looks like it's not a good thing. They've got very little energy. And I wanted to remind you here about some other away phrasal verbs. If you while away the hours, then you fritter away the hours. You waste them doing something or other. You idle away the hours. And if something withers away, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner until it disappears. A plant can wither away, but a person could even wither away if they're extremely depressed or sad and they're not eating properly. They may wither away. If you pick yourself up, you get up. Just means pick yourself up, get up. And that's all I've got on that one. So on to number 45. I've mentioned these ones quite a few times. I have been on at you about these phrasal verbs more or less every lesson for the last 50 lessons. They all mean nag, yeah? Well, they have slight nuances, but if your mum is on at you about about cutting your hair, or if your dad is banging on at you about the conflict in the Middle East, it means they cannot stop talking about this topic, and they keep talking and talking and talking about this topic, very often as a complaint to nag at you. But if they're waffling on about, then it's boring. If they're rabbiting on about, they're just talking a lot. If they're droning on about, then it's droning on at you about something, then it means it's very boring as well. Drone is a boring way of speaking. So all of these are phrasal verbs of speaking. Never forget these phrasal verbs of speaking. They're so useful. And I could make that list at least, I could probably put about 20 verbs in this list, I think. I've got 6, but I think there's at least another 14 that would fit into the same pattern. So make sure you know that one. If you go through an exercise, you go through the questions one by one. If you run someone through a list, then you take them through a list. And it just means explain the list and go through it one by one. So I am running through chapters 41 to 45. Yeah, I am taking you through these chapters. Now, I try not to gloss over the details, and that just means to ignore usually the bad things, the disadvantages. And so politicians will gloss over the negative things that they maybe ought to tell you about. Maybe they have a new policy and they tell you about all the wonderful things that will happen because of this policy, and they gloss over the inconvenient truth. They gloss over the disadvantages of the policy. Yeah, they sweep aside the criticisms concerning the policy. So very similar to sweep aside, gloss over. If you engage someone in a conversation, that's a formal way of saying you strike up a conversation with someone. Strike up a conversation just means start a conversation, but it's informal. Engage someone in a conversation is formal. If the police have a suspect and they want to know exactly what happened on the night of the crime, they might try and interrogate that suspect, and they might try and wring the truth out of that wring the truth out of that suspect. And wring, by the way, if you go into a swimming pool and your jumpers all, maybe you were wearing your jumper, somebody pushed you in maybe, you might get out and then wring your jumper. And that's what wring means. It means turn the jumper so that all the water falls out of the jumper. You can see why we say wring the truth out of a suspect. The police are trying to wring the truth out of that suspect. You can also say drag the truth out of the suspect. Okay? If somebody reels off a list of names, they just say the whole list of names. Reel off is always for lists. Don't confuse it with reel in, which we use for when you reel in customers. Yeah, you try and reel in customers because you want to drum up some business. If the journalist bombards the politician with questions, they give them loads of questions. They ask one question, then another question. They fire away with loads of questions. If somebody talks at you, that means they're not listening to you. So I'm talking at you really at the moment. I'm not listening to you guys, I'm just talking at you. But normally this is negative, yeah? If somebody talks at you, it means they're not interested in what you have to say. They're just interested in what they have to say, and they enjoy talking at you and not to you. Remember that when you throw a ball at someone, it's aggressive, it's nasty. But when you throw a ball to someone, they catch it. So exactly the same with talk to someone, it's nice. Talk at someone and you're just using you're putting your opinion on them and you don't care at all about what they think. If somebody blurts out a secret, usually it's a secret, it means they've revealed something which should have been kept hidden. And this is always, with blurt out, you say something which shouldn't have been said, and immediately you think, I shouldn't have said that. It's actually very true that human beings, we like to think that our mind controls our body, but actually our tongue has a mind of its own, and we seem to speak much quicker than we think. And so our tongue very often has a habit, a nasty habit, of blurting out secrets. If somebody expands or asks you to expand on your plan for the company, they just want you to elaborate, to give more details about the plan for the company. So expand on just means to give more details, and maybe one of you students might say, Dave, I didn't quite understand wring the truth out of someone. Can you expand on that, please? Can you elaborate? Now, if you have a big speech and you dry up in the middle of the speech, it basically means you forget your words, you forget what you were planning to say, and you go, and you just dry up and you've got nothing to say. If you clam up, same thing, but because you're shy, not because you've forgotten your words. So some people are very shy and they clam up when they have to speak in public. Now, if you sound someone out, that means you ask for their opinion about something. So maybe you want to buy a house, but you decide to sound your parents out first. And it means you ask your parents for their opinion first of all. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's a bad idea, maybe you should wait another 6 months before buying a property. You sound your parents out first, see what they say, and then sound your friends out. So this always means to get someone's opinion about something. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. I hope that's all clear. I hope I haven't spoken too quickly. I don't like it when people speak English quickly. Personally, I think it's very bad style. But can you see how many phrasal verbs I have here? That's a lot, and so it's not easy for me to go very slowly. If I go very slowly, it will be like I'm teaching beginners, and clearly this is an advanced lesson. So I have to go quickly, and I want you to remember as many of these as possible, and I think it's better if I go quickly for that reason. However, in any public speech, I recommend that you go slowly and take pauses and think about what you say before you actually say it. That's a better way of speaking. Okay, thanks very much for watching this video and taking all these new phrasal verbs in. I hope that you start using them in your everyday lives. Thanks very much for watching. If you like the video, click a like, subscribe, whatever, and I'll see you all next time.